Hola, muy buenas tardes a todos. Hoy me acompaña una gran invitada, ganadora del Óscar y una de las mejores actrices de esta generación, Tilda Swinton. Hi, Tilda. How are you? Such an honor to me. Thank you so much for this. So I really want to know, I know that you and Joe talked for a while about working together. I want to know more about how finally Memoria came together.
The amazing thing about Memoria is that when I see the film, even though it's been so long in its development, it's pretty much exactly what I imagined it would be, even from the very first conversations that we had. So we met, I want to say 17 years ago, when I saw his film Tropical Malady in Cannes, and we started to be correspondents, and we started quite quickly to talk about a film. And the element that we put down was this element of a kind of resonance, someone able to pick up the resonance of a place in a quite, I mean, deeply human actually, but slightly superhuman way. And that was the starting point. And then all sorts of practical things were quite distracting, like where could we possibly shoot it? Because I'm not Thai, and all his work up until this point had been shot in Thailand and been about Thailand as well. So we came to understand that we really wanted to find a place that both of us were strangers. And we became very excited about this, that it's about a stranger and we would be strangers too. So we went through a checklist. Sort of every year we would go through a checklist. Well, what about Iceland? Oh no, I've been to Iceland. So, okay, well, not Iceland. What about Japan? Oh, I've spent quite a lot of time in Japan, so it can't be that. So we just went through all these places. And then he came here to the Cartagena Film Festival and wrote to me, it's Colombia, because he felt here, as I did when I first came here, this possibility of picking up resonance. There's a way in which Colombia carries its layers and its past, not just its very distant past, but its recent past, that's very recognizable to both Joey and me, Joey in Thailand and me in Scotland. We feel like we've got radios that pick up the right frequency here. Once we had this third important partner, we had, Joey, me, and Colombia, then we started to weave a narrative of sorts.
Well, throughout your career, you've done quite a variety of characters. How do you feel Memoria fits into that? Do you have like a criteria for picking a character? How do you feel Memoria fits?
I never pick characters. I always pick. It's very much par for the course. This one, it's the same thing, business as usual. I pick my comrades and I build a conversation with them, and whether it's a conversation with Wes Anderson about some art critic from the 50s for French Dispatch, or whether it's Jim Jarmusch about Adam and Eve and have a long gestation period talking about that, or whether it's Bong Joon-ho talking about the meat industry in America. It's the conversation, the comrade and the conversation come first, and then the project comes out of that conversation. And then the least interesting part for me is, what am I going to do in it? And sometimes I'm not in it. Sometimes I'll work in collaboration with someone or with a group on a project that I might be working as a producer on, or even as a writer, and I'm not in it. So me being in it as a performer is not the most interesting, the least interesting thing for me. And so in that sense, the relationship with Joey is very similar. It's just we met, we loved each other, we loved each other's cinema, we imagined able to work with his cinema, and on we went. But we did know, it is true, with him, we always knew that I would be in the frame. So that was particular with him.
So you mentioned before the word performer. You don't like to use the word actress. Could you tell us more about that?
I'm just trying to be accurate. I've read and heard enough real actors talk about their work and their priorities and their ways of going about their lives and their work to know that I'm just not one. I don't. As I said, the fact that I think real actors choose roles, right? Well, there we are. I fall at the first fence. I'm disqualified, you know. I think that you know, I never intended to be an actor. I still don't intend to be an actor. I didn't train as an actor. You know, I'm interested in cinema and I'm interested in it. I mean, I started working in cinema in a very particular way, in a particular world. I started, as you may know, working with Derek Jarman in the 80s, in a kind of experimental world where most of the work I was putting together with him was silent, generated with Super 8 cameras, autobiographical performance art. It wasn't acting. I wasn't interpreting anything. So yeah, I'm just trying to be accurate. And I'm trying to say it before anybody else does. You know, before real actors stand up and say, hey, she's not a real actor. I say, well, I got there first.
A few months ago, we saw you on the red carpet at Cannes with the Colombian flag. How much did you know about Colombia's politics before the movie, and how the movie changed your opinion about the country?
Well, you know, as much as I could, living in Scotland and being in contact with my friends here, which is a better way, by the way, to know about Colombian politics than to rely on European or, you know, Western media. There's only so much that's reported, which is one of the reasons why we felt that it was important to make to use the platform of Cannes and the red carpet in particular, which is like a sort of, you know, there's a focus on that. For those 10 days, there's a focus on that piece of carpet. We decided that it was, you know, important. It was not so much for the rest of the world. It was really for Colombia to know that we were there for Colombia, and that this was a Colombian film, and that Colombia was represented there. But then at the same time, it's important for the rest of the world to be reminded. And I don't know, you never quite know what kind of impact that gesture makes. I've heard it made a gesture here, it made an impact here, which is the most important thing, because it's important for people to know that they're seen and that there's a fellowship across the water.
Yes. So the movie is a lot about sounds. So how hard it was for you to act on sounds, rely so much on
yeah,
sound?
I mean, that was also a very early, I mean, anybody who knows Apichatpong's work knows that a soundscape is a huge part of his landscape. And I knew that the soundscape was going to be very important for this. And that was one of the few pieces of, you know, work, as it were, that I had to really imagine something that wasn't there and be guided by it. It was like dancing to a piece of music that didn't exist. And that was it was a piece of work, but it was rich, very rich exercise. It was almost at times more like dancing than anything else.
Was there something particularly challenging in this character?
It's not a character. I just, you know, keeping the rhythm. I mean, I spoke to Joe often of moving as if I was underwater. And that's also in relation to the sound. You know, the way when you're underwater, your sense of sound is very acute. It's sort of deafened, but at the same time, it's acute. I think keeping on that tightrope throughout the shoot, keeping it going and keeping it consistent. That was, you know, that took concentration and a certain amount of faith, because there's only so much you can really gauge when you're doing it, when you're inside the frame, particularly over a long 15-minute take. But yeah, that was, I wouldn't say it was hard, but it was diverting.
So how was for you filming in Bogota? And I know Pijao was another of the locations.
Yeah,
how was for you?
Oh, it was wonderful.
Cities?
It was, I mean, I particularly loved shooting in Bogota at night. I love cities at night anyway, and I like shooting at night. And shooting in Bogota at night is, yeah, it's electric. yeah, felt very alive.
So the movie definitely tackles a lot of themes, the whole sound, also memories. What do you feel is the main theme from all the themes?
I think there's something in it about telling the truth and about the fact that the truth is there to be heard. And when all the distractions can be reduced and silenced, then it's possible to hear the truth. And the truth is in history. And the future is, it's really important for us to listen to history. And it's all there. We don't have to make it up. We just have to listen. So I think if anything, it's really a proposal that we sharpen our ears and also know that we know everything. We don't need other people to tell us anything, really. We know it all and we just need to tell it.
So how did you prepare for Jessica?
I lived for a few years and hung out with Joe and saw his films and loved them. Was really eager to inhabit a kind of cinematic space that was very slow and very quiet and very attentive and very immersive. I think that was it. And then beyond that, I grew my hair and I dyed it and I put on some men's clothes. That was it.
So you mentioned before that it was exactly like you imagined. Would you tell how did you picture it at first, and what do you?
It's not in terms of narrative, not in terms of anything visual even, but just in terms of sensation. It's a sensational piece of work, meaning that the bits of you that are sort of touched by it, it's an experience. It's an experiential journey, and it's not an intellectual journey at all. And that's what I was hoping that we would be able to make, and we made it.
So what's your favorite thing about Joe's movies?
I think he loves the wilderness. And I don't just mean the wilderness of the jungle or the wilderness of sort of geographical wilderness, but I think he loves the wilderness of the mind and the spirit, and he goes places that other people don't go. And even though they're strange places, they're recognizable to us, I think. Well, they're certainly recognizable to me.
So, last but not least, why do you feel we should all watch Memoria? What's your favorite thing about it?
Because I think it's a really good argument for a big screen and a big theatrical cinema. And just at a time when we were all beginning to really miss cinema a lot, and we were getting tired of watching things on the end of our beds. Here, just when the cinemas are opening, is a really great work by, in my view, a cinema master about a kind of pure cinematic experience, which is really best seen on a big, big screen.
Also about that, I said it was less, but about that, the movie was made before the pandemic, yes. And now we had that experience. How do you feel? Do you feel it changes in a way?
Well, it's interesting because when we made the film, I felt very strongly that it was a film that people need, that would be good for people. And then last year, in 2020, when the pandemic happened, I thought, well, the audience is getting ready for this film because everyone is marinated in a sense of separation and in a sense of isolation and a sense of longing. And so this reverie that the film induces, they're going to be much better prepared for it. And then in 2021, when Colombia started to experience what she's been experiencing and people started to tell the truth that they've been telling about Colombia, I thought, well, wow, we thought we were making a film about the past, but it seems that we're making a film about the present. So the film, in a way, has been sitting in a drawer, but it's been getting ready for its moment. And through the pandemic and through what's been happening in Colombia politically. And I'm very happy that we're presenting it this year. I think it's a gift.
Okay, thank you so much, Tilda, and the movie is extraordinary. Muchas gracias a ustedes y los invitamos a ver Memoria en cines de todo el país desde el 30 de septiembre. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.